Yo, what's up guys, it's Ruben here with my heavy stamina template DPS setup. Once again, as always, I don't claim this build. This is just the current build I'm running in the Morrowind patch and update. This is a great build for group PvP and 1 vs 1 PvP. And I just fucking love it, man. When you go in werewolf form, I'm having such a great time. The DPS output is insane, especially in group situations with 4 vs 4, because you can just spam those biting jabs, which have very nice crits and do a lot of damage. The sustain on this build can be a little bit hard. I wouldn't say the sustain is bad, but maybe a little bit harder to manage and needs a little bit of practice. Apart from that, you are quite tanky. You can take a punch, you can take quite a lot of hits, because you will go 5 heavy and 2 medium. Talking about medium, we also run Selene. I will come to the gear of course, but this gives us even more burst potential 1 vs 1. So, enough talking. We don't have a lot of video PvP clips, just 1 minute, somewhere like 10 now. Then we go to talk about the gear, skill setup, etc. Don't forget to check out the website for the full typed version, www.getthedgaming.com. Will also be linked underneath the description. Enjoy! So let's get started with the gear, shall we? What we are using on our armor is 5 heavy Ravager. You want to go for the chest, waist, feet, legs and gloves, aka hands. Then we use 2 Selene medium, head and the shoulders. You want to go for like 5 impenetrable and 2 well fitted. You can also go for 6 impenetrable and 1 well fitted, or full impenetrable 7 times. Totally depends on you. I myself am running 5 impen and 2 well fitted, but like I said, you can also run 6-1 or 7. Then we have 3 times jewelry agility. Okay, we have 2 with stamina recovery and 1 with reduced cost. Then on the one hand and shield, we have defending trait plus impenetrable, and you want to use the drain health poison 12. So I'm using Orgnims at the moment. If you're going to use a crafted set, you either use Eternal Hunt or Orgnim skills. But what I would recommend if you have it is the Marksman sets, because that will give you increased stamina recovery with 2 pieces. Otherwise, Orgnims or Eternal Hunt. Eternal Hunt will give you max stamina, which is useful for the figure. And the 2-handed, I myself am using a random 2-handed greatsword with the sharpen trait and increased weapon damage enchantment. But honestly, it would be so good if you have a millstone weapon or a master weapon as a 2-handed. I'm going to farm it for this build because it will just make it so much better. So if you have a master or millstone 2-handed greatswords or axe, something with sharpened, that would be the best. So the attribute bar, we have 64 in stamina. We go full in stamina. The boon, we use the serpent. Extra things, we are a werewolf, yes we are. Race. The race I personally am is an orc. Orc along with Redguard are the top 2 ones. Redguard is probably slightly better because of the increased stamina recovery, max stamina and to adrenaline rush. It's just so good for stamina based class which is melee focus up to the face, which this class definitely is with the weaving. But I'm an orc and it's not a huge difference, you know, it's not worth rerolling. So number 1 would probably be Redguard for me. Number 2 would be Orc, and Wood Elf, aka Bosmer, would have a shared place with the Orc. And after that you can go for, well, pretty much, you can go for a Nord, that would work out. And after that it's pretty much everything else, man. Then you can just pick an Agoni if you wanted OP, sexy swim speed. Damn man, the juicy 50%, then go for that one. So again, Redguard, then Orc / Wood Elf shared second spot, number 3 Nord. With Imperial perhaps. Imperial's also really good. Totally forgot about it real quick there. So let's talk about the skills. Number 1 we have Power of the Robo. Power of the Robo is a very nice skill. It's the third ability from the Dawn's Wrath. Why? Copying all the damage taken for 6 seconds and releasing 20% of it as additional psycho damage to them. Maximum copy, blah blah blah. Targets are also inflicted with minor fracture and minor breach, reducing their psycho and spell resistance by 1.3k for 6 seconds. So they also copy the damage from your teammates, which is just incredibly strong, you know. If you want to nuke someone down or focus someone, Power of the Robo is your best friend. And you can place several, it's not like you can only place one, you can just spam it. Number 2 is Channeled Focus from the Restoring Light last ability. The reason I go for Channeled Focus instead of the other morph is because we really wanted increased Magicka recovery. You also recover 120 magic every half seconds. Recovery is based on 2 seconds, so that's 480 Magicka recovery, which will add it up a lot. So Extended Ritual is number 3, that's why we want to have Channeled Focus, to spam Extended Ritual. It has a high cost, 3.6k, but it gives us some healing. Not a lot of healing, but just some okayish healing. But it's mostly about removing the debuffs and dots on us. So very effective when fighting, for example, Magicka Dragon Knights. I mean, they can get you down. If you just spray properly, keep your channel target up, and just cleanse yourself frequently, you will be totally fine. Number 4 we have Repentance. This is on the full back bar because it increases our recovery. Increased stamina, health and Magicka recovery. And this is mostly for Battlegrounds. So in Battlegrounds you have a lot of 4 versus 4 versus 4. And there aren't a lot of people running Repentance. So it's extremely useful to get resources back up. If you're going open world or something like that with this build, I would definitely recommend to swap it out for Shuffle though, however. If you're going solo play, you know, really small scale, then you probably want to use Shuffle. If you're going 1 versus 1, you want to use Shuffle. But if you go in group play, let's say 6 versus 6, or you go with a 12-man raid in Cyrodiil, then Repentance is extremely useful and totally worth it. Number 5 we have Figure. Alliance Warline. Number 2, second ability. Ultimate. We have Spell Wall. This is the ultimate from the one-handed and shoot ability. What we definitely want the Spell Wall and not the other morph, because we don't use any one-handed sword abilities. So there is no use in removing the cost of them. This one also reflects back any spells, projectiles cast at you for 7 seconds, which is incredibly useful if you get pressured a lot. Let's swap to the two-handed bar. Number 1, Dizzying Swing. First ability from the two-handed line. Very useful, nice DPS. Sometimes if you're facing really good players, you know, it's hard to land a Dizzying Swing, because they will just walk through you. So what you have to do when you are facing people who are really good with that, you have to keep your distance. So you shouldn't be like attacking them here, very close to them. You should be having a distance, so it's harder for them to avoid it basically. However, if you still have an incredibly hard time to land Dizzying Swing, for example, Nightblades, which is totally fine. I mean, Nightblades are just a pain in the ass for Dizzying Swing. You can swap it out for Binding Javelin. Binding Javelin is an insta-cast and stuns the enemy. So if you swap it out for Binding Javelin, you fire Binding Javelin and then you do your Crit Rush. Which brings us to the second ability from the two-handed line. Crit Rush. The reason we go for Crit Rush is just because it does so much damage. Again, if you want to focus, for example, Dizzying Swing, you have a hard time, you can go for Stampede, for the snare. But I personally, for the group setups I'm running, I just really like the damage from Crit Rush. The 68% damage bonus based on distance travel and always a critical strike is just so nice, it's great. Number 3, our main DPS against groups, Binding Jabs. Binding Jabs are very nice. You hit so many people with it, So when you're in a big group fight, like I showed a couple of times, when we have 4 vs 4, you can just use that shit, man. You can hit so many people. It's a huge AoE damage you do. I mean, it's great single target and AoE wise. So Binding Jabs is our main DPS. Number 4, we have the Execute. Executioner, you want to increase DPS because overall a lot of the increased damage to people around it doesn't do a lot of damage to those people. It doesn't happen a lot that everyone is in execute range, and even when they are, you can just focus one person. So Executioner for the increased damage. And number 5, Rally, increase the weapon damage and gives us some great healing. Ultimate, we have the Fighters Guild Dawnbreaker Smiting. This increases our weapon damage by 3%. In total, it will increase the weapon damage by 5%, something like that. That's really nice, but apart from that, it's just a nice, insane insta DPS. It's not too expensive, and it's just a nice knockback if you animate you can, so it like this. You see? Boom. That's what you want to do. So, there were the abilities. I'm going to talk about rotation real quick. I will just show it up for example on an NPC outside. Okay, so I got my volunteer here, Jeff. So what the rotation pretty much is, you want to get your channel focus down, always. Buff yourself up. Before you go in, you place the power of the robo on him. Then you do a crit rush in, and then you either do a light attack, Binding Jabs, and hopefully Sleep procs. You gotta keep your pressure up, and you're going to see when the power of the robo ends, you know. This will cause a lot of DPS. When you are fighting with him, you can either try to land a dizzying swing to give a nice knockback, then you directly do a crit rush in. What you want to do as well is every time power of the light goes away, you want to replace it. Then keep up the pressure, Binding Jabs with weaving, power of the robo is gone, get it up again. And continue, continue, continue. Also watch your bar to see when you ravage your procs. This will greatly increase your DPS. So if you're planning to use your Dawnbreaker, make sure your Ravager is procced. For example, like now, I'm just going to attack. He isn't fighting back, of course, because this is a test video. Well, come on Ravager, let's proc. There we go, Ravager is proc. Then you use your Dawnbreaker and then you can execute. Okay, and this is for example when you are fighting with Nightblaze. If you are fighting with Nightblaze, for example, you do pretty much almost the same. You place the power of the robo, use your javelin, and then you do a crit rush in directly after this. This will greatly increase the distance. I fucked up there. And then you do the same pretty much. Every time you see CC's gone, you will try to throw the javelin again. You really want to keep that up. So that's pretty much the rotation, very simple. If you get pressured a lot, you can use your spell shield ulti. And then you heal yourself up, cleanse yourself, use your rally again, buff yourself up. Very, very useful. Okay, so let's go into the champion points. So we start off with the tower. You want 23 in Siphoner to reduce enemies' health, magic and stamina recovery. 8 in Sprinter, very useful especially when you're on Orc for the reduced cost of sprinting. So you can escape those pesky EP Zergs. And 13 in Warlord, reduce the cost of break free. Then you want 76 in Monk Health, increased stamina recovery. I know a lot of people probably think why 76, because after 60 it barely adds up. But stamina recovery is just so important. 4 in Arcanus, not a little bit, just a little bit of extra magica recovery. And 43 in Tenacity. Increase the magic and stamina, you fully charge heavy attacks restore. If you're low on resources, we'll use the heavy attacks to get a resource back up. So 10% will really add up. 23 in Tumbling, reduce the cost of roll dodge. We do a lot of roll dodging, it's very important. And Shadow Ward, we do 20 as well, because we will use the blocking of a one-handed shield. 42 in Blast to increase our healing done. 23 in Shattering Blows, increase your damage done to enemies with a damage shield. So very useful against those cancerous Blazing Shield Templars and the Magicka Sorcerers. Mastered Arms, increase your damage done with direct damage attacks. For the jabs and weaving. Psycho Weapon Expert, increase your damage done with light and heavy attacks for two-handed. Heavy attack meta build. No, I'm just kidding. 34 in Piercing, increase Psycho Penetration. And 49 in Mighty, increase our damage by 11% with Psycho. Then we go to the Red Tree. 15 Ironclad, reduce your damage taken against direct damage attacks by 7%. 35 in Spell Shield, 35 in Resistance. 35 in Hardy and 35 in Elemental Defender to increase our defense. 25 in Expert Defender, reduce your damage take from light and heavy attacks. It's especially useful against sorcerers who are weaving a lot. 10 in Heavy Armor Focus and 20 in Quick Recovery to increase our healing done. So with that we have pretty much covered everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do not forget to check out www.gettheedgegaming.com for many more builds, PvP, gold guides, leveling guides, etc, etc. You can also check me out live on www.twitch.tv/gettheedge. No, that's not meant sexual. To get some nice live PvP. And you can ask me questions there as well. Have a great day. Do not forget to subscribe, leave a like. I'm out. Bye bye.